Hello, good morning. I hope that you're all well and you've had a good week. In today's video, I'm going to answer some questions that have been put to me this week. Some questions it's so much easier to verbally reply than to write a reply. We're going to have a look at an antique sampler with an unusual verse. I'm going to share with you some new products that are available for needleworkers. I'm going to show you 2 works in progress, and we're going to look at this week's stitches for the online tutorial for the ABC sampler. But first of all, I want to start with a story. Now, it's a true story, and it involves one of my best friends who's a needleworker. Now, several months ago, my friend developed a rash on her hands that was transferred to the side of her face by her eye, her neck and other parts of her body, but this rash was predominantly on her hands. The rash to her looked like poison ivy, and she's very sensitive to poison ivy, but it couldn't be because it was the wrong time of year. Well, after weeks of this rash getting worse and worse, she went to her doctors, and her doctor said to her, that looks like poison ivy, but it can't be, it's the wrong time of year. Now, my friend's brother has a great interest in fountain pens, and as you know, a lot of fountain pens have lacquer, and he had heard how people could be sensitive to lacquered fountain pens. So my friend started to research this on the internet, and she found out that you can get lacquer rash from items that have lacquer on them that are made from the euryshi plant or the eurytional plant. And eurytional is found in many plants, including poison ivy. So my friend went down this route researching, and yes, you know, if you use scissors with lacquered handles that haven't been cured, you can get a rash that resembles poison ivy. She put her scissors to one side, and the rash cleared up. Now, she has various pairs of these scissors, and it was only this one pair that was causing her the rash. And it turns out that lacquer has to cure. And if you have an item that you get a rash from, if you put the item to one side and allow it to cure, you will no longer be sensitive to that item. Now, we're not doctors, we're not giving you medical advice, we're not dermatologists or anything like that, but if you have a pair of scissors with a lacquered handle and you've developed a rash, it might be those scissors need curing for a little longer. Google euryshi lacquer, URUSHI, and you'll be able to read about it as well. Fancy being allergic to your needlework scissors. Crazy, but there we are. That's a little something that if you have had a problem, your scissors might be causing it. Okay, so the questions that I've been asked this week that I would like to verbally respond to. The first question was from somebody who saw my video last weekend, and last weekend I did a review of the new attachment for the Necessaire floor stand, and they had noticed that my floor stand had very long support arms. The support arms are what you put your frame on to use your floor stand. Now, I've always used the longest support arms because of my back problems. When I sit and stitch, I like to sit well back in my chair, so the back of my chair is supporting my back, and the longer arms enables my work to come closer to me. So I replied saying that they're the longest arms, and the lady wrote back and said, well, they look a lot longer than the 18-inch arms that are shown on the Needle Needs website. So I went to the website, and the longest arms shown are 18 inches, and those are the arms that I use. But the 18 inches is not the length of those support arms. It is the size of frame that they support. Well, and when I say frame, I really mean the side stretchers. Now, these are the 18-inch side stretchers, and if you use these, you need the 18-inch support arms. The support arms are a lot longer because obviously these open up, so that's why they look longer than 18 inches. Now, when I went onto the website, something caught my eye. When I first bought Needle Needs products, which is many, many years ago, decades ago, there were 3 sizes of side stretchers. In fact, let me just do one. So those are the 3 sizes. These are my go-to ones. I use these all the time. I occasionally use the medium ones when I want to see a design developing, and I want to see all of the design because I'm having to make colour choices and design choices. And then these I use very rarely, although over the last couple of weeks I have been using them on the Spanish sampler, not because I couldn't roll it up, but because I couldn't bear to roll it up. I wanted to see all of it. It's just so beautiful. I just didn't want to hide an inch of it from view. So anyway, those were the shortest side stretchers. But what I noticed was that Needle Needs now have 2 smaller ones. So these are the 8 inches. They now have the mini 1, which I believe are 7 inches or 6 inches. And then they have mini 2, which is the smallest one. So immediately I placed an order for these, and they arrived Thursday, I think. So those are the 2 new side stretchers. Now, what I realised was that with these very, very short side stretchers, the mini 2 and the shortest top and bottom bars, I could create a little mini Millennium frame. Now, Needle Needs have had the little wizard, but they don't rarely have it for sale. And it doesn't work quite the same way as the Millennium frame. But all of a sudden, because of these very short sidebars, I can create a little mini Millennium frame. And it's so small, I can stitch with this in the crook of my hand. I could even hold it because it's very light to use to stitch from. Now, when I travel, I use a hoop, and I'm very pleased with my hoop, but the hoop doesn't give me the same tension as the Millennium frame. And when you've been used to the tension of the Millennium frame, it's a hard step to stitch on slacker fabric. So anyway, I'm going to be taking this to me with the States when I fly out a week Monday. And I will report back at the end of my trip how easy I have found this to use. I'm sure I'm going to love it. Now, what I did, I got my Potoki lap stand out, which I was going to be taking to use with a hoop, and I put this into the Potoki stand, and it does hold it, but I haven't put any fabric on or stitched using my Potoki lap stand. At the end of my trip, I will let you know how successful that has been. The Potoki lap stand is designed to hold a hoop, not a Millennium frame, but it may well be possible, and I'll let you know how I get on. So pleased that we now have these mini 2 and mini 1 side stretchers. Wonderful. Now, the next question, which again was about the Millennium frame, was about what size bars do I need. Now, the bars, when you see the measurements on the website, they're not the overall measurement. They are the measurement from there to there, which indicates the maximum width of fabric that you can put on these bars. Now, for example, if you were stitching on a project, that was 15 inches wide, but you needed to make an allowance for margins, so say you went for 3-inch margins, you need 6 extra inches of fabric, so 6 and 15 is 21. Your fabric would not fit on 20-inch bars. You would have to go to the next size up. You can put fabric that is narrower than the width of your bars, but you cannot put fabric on that is wider. So if you were going to buy a Millennium frame and you wanted it to be one that gave you the widest options, think of what is the probable largest width of fabric that you want to put on it and go for that. When I first bought the Millennium frame, I went for the 36-inch bars because I was stitching very big projects then, and I was only going to buy one set, but when it arrived and I realised how wonderful these were, over the years I've built up all the sizes, but I always tend to go for bars that are a little bit longer than necessary because I like having that space either side. Okay, so the next question was again about the Millennium frame, and it was, can you roll up projects that have satin stitches on? And the answer is yes, you can. I stitched the thigh using my Millennium frame and I rolled the fabric up. But what I did at the end of each stitching session, I slackened off my fabric and I unrolled it. There was so much satin stitch in that project, I didn't want it flattened, and by rolling it and working on it with tight tension, it didn't flatten it, but I didn't want to risk leaving it rolled around the bar all the time, so I always slackened not only the side bars but the fabric off. Now, when I stitched the Victoria Sampler ABC, no, it's not ABC, I've got ABC on my alphabet series, that project had a lot of charms and beads, and what I didn't want doing was those beads to cause an imprint when they were rolled up. So what I did there, I got some quilt wadding, and as I was rolling my fabric up, I was having a layer of wadding between the fabric and the roll. Now that worked really, really well, and that's a big sampler. At the end, the roll I had was absolutely massive, and I had to use these to give me enough space to work. If you do that, it's very, very important that the wadding is wider than the fabric, because when you roll this fabric up, if you had wadding that was shorter, you wouldn't be getting tension applied to the end fabric. So it's very important that that wadding is wider than the fabric, so that all your fabric has the tension of the bars to give you this drum type tension. I probably haven't explained that very well. I need to maybe get some quilt wadding and roll it to show you, but at the moment everything's packed away because of the refurbishments we're having. We've only got 20 windows left. We're on the home stretch now. Okay, so new products. We've talked about the new Needle Needs products. Well, they may have been available for a little while, but they're new to me. It was the first time I'd seen those shorter sidebars. Some products from Minnie McBean's. Now, Sue has seen the multiplication table sampler grow, and she loves this sampler so much, as so many of you have shown with your purchases of the booklet and the PDF. And Sue wanted to make some really special scissor fobs to go with the multiplication table sampler, and she really has made some beauties. Here we go. There's a choice. She's replicating the design in the fob with all the charms. So pretty. And again here with the bows and the hearts and the crowns. And you have a different choice of colour. You have the lilac to go with the lilac flower in the fobs. Sue has opened her Etsy store this weekend, so you can go onto Etsy and go to Minnie McBean's, and you can get these. There's a choice of colours when it comes to the crystal, and you have two different choices of design for the cabochon itself. Now, Sue has been making the most gorgeous counting pins, and I'm an avid collector of counting pins, and she has now brought out a new design, and these are stunning, absolutely stunning. And these beads are quite special. These are not everyday beads. They're just beautiful. I couldn't resist. I bought all four. I love looking at my counting pin collection, all the sparkles and bling. It's just so lovely. There's so much detail in these. It's not just a bead stuck on the top. Everything matches so beautifully. That's a gorgeous collection. Really, really pretty. And those are on her Etsy store now. With Sue's Etsy store, she only opens it when she's got the products, and they always sell out so quickly, and I'm not surprised because these products are so beautiful and they're so beautifully made. With the image in the cabochon, they're not printed on a home printer. These are professionally printed on a proper printing press, and they're always so clean, perfectly made, and the charms are always so thoughtfully put together. Love that so much. See, you've got an X there for cross stitching. Very, very pretty. I need to decide what scissors I'm going to put these on. I've got my new Kahanas. My blue have got a tad lighter this week, so hopefully in a few weeks time they will be at the shade of blue they're going to stabilize at. Okay, so the next thing I'd like to talk about is this little sampler stitched by Margaret Miles, and she finished it on the 28th of September 1827. That's a long time ago. The sampler is just a primer sampler, but what makes me smile about this is the verse. Okay, and it says, "In works of fancy let me try all my superiors to outvie. In virtue too, oh may there be no one on earth to equal me. Well, she had a big opinion of herself. That just made me smile. She was obviously an achiever, maybe an overachiever, very ambitious young lady. It'll be interesting to see if I can find out more about Margaret Miles and see what sort of life that she lived. In works of fancy, let me try all my superiors to outvie. In virtue too, oh may there be no one on earth to equal me. Gonna have to get that one reproduced. Okay, so talk about reproducing. I finished the chimney piece sampler. It was 470 stitches wide. It's going to be a big one. I'm going to need my big bars to stitch that one. I also reproduced, or I charted, I shouldn't say reproduced because it's not stitched yet. I charted a sampler stitched by a boy, which is a great fun one. And I've been working on Philomena and this sampler. Oh, it's just so beautiful. This is the second font. There's a third font to go, which is just glorious. The shade of red I'm using is Overa Soir 103 in 664. I don't know how well it's actually showing in this light. The colours on my iPad, they're all wrong and I cannot do anything about it. I actually had a rummage in a cupboard for an old iPad in the week and charged it up, and that takes so much better photographs than the latest iPad and iPhone. Okay, so the other project that I have been working on is the ABC sampler, and I've actually got quite a bit done on it now. I am finished except for the background lace work and the turkey knot. Last night I started to play with the background lace. Now this is 56 count. I'm using Soir 103. The Saphine, although it's finer than the 103, doesn't give me enough contrast. So I tried splitting down the Saphine from 2 ply to 1 ply, but the 1 ply you can't stitch with it. It just shreds. I had a chat with Kathy Ray of Needle in a Haystack, who is a wonderful font of knowledge when it comes to silk and fabric, and we've been talking about trying out the thread that fishermen use to make flies. So this morning I googled about fly time thread and now know quite a bit about that, and I've ordered the finest fly tying thread. It only comes in white, but you can colour it with a marker pen. So one, I've got to see when it comes if it's fine enough to give a contrast, and then two, whether I can use a marker pen to darken it, and then to test that thread to see if the ink from the marker pen is stable and doesn't come off on my fabric. If that doesn't work, I am going to ask my friend who has long black hair if I could have a few strands of her hair, and I will try that. The lengths we go to stitch. Anyway, let's have a look at this week's stitches, and we're going to start with the Smyrna cross.
Smyrna cross is also known as double cross stitch and as the Leviathan stitch. I'm going to use a pin stitch start as it will be hidden by the stitch. For this demonstration, I'm going to lay this stitch over 4 threads of linen, but you could also lay it over 2 threads. The stitch can also be worked on Ada. We will start at top left and go down at bottom right. We will move to the left and bring our needle back up at bottom left and take it back down at top right. We will move our needle to the left and bring it up at middle top and take it back down at middle bottom. We'll move our needle to the left and bring it up middle left and take it down middle right. We have now completed the first Smyrna cross. Let's work this stitch again. We will bring our needle up at top left. We will take our needle back down at bottom right, remembering that we are working this stitch over 4 threads. We move to the left. Bring your needle up at bottom left, take it down at top right, move to the left, bringing your needle up at centre top and taking it back down at centre bottom. Move to the left and bring your needle up at middle left and take it back down at bottom right. Let's lay another stitch. We go from top left to bottom right. We move to the left and go from bottom left to top right. We move left and we go from middle top to bottom top. We move to the left and we go from middle left to middle right. Let's work one more stitch, but this time you say the stitch path to yourself. When I am filming, I do not have a clear view of my fabric and needle. It is so much easier when you stitch without a camera blocking your view. Smyrna cross is very pretty when worked with 2 colours. If you wish to work the stitch with 2 colours, you lay your cross stitches first. Then you add the second colour. When working Smyrna cross in 2 colours, I could not help but think of the double straight cross stitch. When that stitch is worked in 2 colours, it's so pretty. I'd like to show you it being worked. We start with an upright cross stitch worked over 4 threads. We now lay a cross stitch over 2 threads in the second colour. Working Smyrna crosses and double straight cross stitches in 2 colours and in groups can be very effective. Many needleworkers use a Smyrna cross stitch as a substitute for an Algerian eyelet. Algerian eyelets are very straightforward to work. In this demonstration, I am working an eyelet stitch over 4 threads. We are moving around the stitch, taking our needle from the outside into the centre hole. Beauty of the stitch lies in the centre hole that you have opened. When we have laid the last leg of the eyelet stitch and have to move to the next eyelet stitch, this is where you can encounter a problem. If you carry your thread to the next stitch, see how the centre hole closes up. It is obscured by the carry of the thread. I prefer to work my eyelet stitches by making an outward journey and a return journey. This method leaves the centre holes open and unobscured. Nicola's tips and tricks. How to execute Algerian eyelets so that they are reversible. I'm going to demonstrate how I stitched the capital letter O found on Sarah Mary Larkworthy's sampler. I'm a self-taught stitcher, so my way may not be the accepted way, but this is how I stitch out a pattern, letter or number in Algerian eyelet, so that all the stitches sit correctly and are reversible. I plan my route carefully before I start, so that I make an outward journey followed by a return journey. Care should be taken so that no threads pass behind the centre hole, as this will spoil the effect of the stitch. This stitch is classified as both a canvas stitch and a pulled and drawn thread stitch. We usually see the stitch worked over 2 or 4 threads. The stitch consists of 8 legs that are all worked from the outer edge into the same central hole and arranged as a square. By applying tension as you stitch, the centre holes open, giving a lacy effect. Even tension should be applied so that each stitch sits well. This stitch takes its name from 16th century Algerian embroidery, and it appears on the earliest of samplers. It is also known as star eyelet, star stitch, or just simple eyelet. It is ideal for areas such as lettering and numbers where a clearly defined outline is sought. When finished, weave the starting and end threads carefully through the back of the stitches, making sure you do not cross the centre hole. By planning our route carefully, we have achieved a perfect reversible finish. You can achieve this finish too.
The little ABC sampler doesn't have any Algerian eyelets in it, but I felt as we were looking at the Smyrna cross that today was the perfect time for us to also look at eyelets. It's not a difficult stitch to work. You just need to avoid carrying your thread across the centre hole, and you don't want to work one stitch, tie off and start the next stitch. Work the stitches as a continual flow. Whilst I've been recording this morning, the postman has been, and I've got 2 exciting parcels to open. A box of threads from Overa Smart in Paris. I've been waiting for these threads for a project to start, a new exciting project. How lovely. And the postman has also delivered a sampler. This sampler, it's from a country I have not got in my collection, and it's a country that you very rarely see samplers come from. Well, actually, I do have 2 samplers that were worked in the country, but they were worked by an English girl, not a person who was native to that country. This sampler was worked by a native girl. I'm so excited to open this, and it's one that I'm going to reproduce. I'm trying to build a sampler wall with samplers from different countries. I always think it's nice when you have a purpose or a theme to a sampler wall. Okay, right. Do I open those or do I walk the boys first? We shall see. Thank you for listening. The video has gone on a little bit today, but that's how it goes sometimes. Don't forget that Minnie McBean's Etsy store is open this weekend for these beautiful, beautiful products. I can't get enough of them. There we are. Gorgeous scissor fobs and counting pins. A girl can never have too much bling. Okay, until next weekend, stay well, stay safe. Bye-bye.